Hello, I'm Lee. Welcome to the October Energy Update, where every month I take the pulse on what might be showing up for you energetically, emotionally, psychologically. A few of the themes for this month are the emergence of your personal transformation, boundaries and connection, and the changing nature of some of our relationships, the war of beliefs and how you are doing with that. And lastly, the importance of you bringing yourself back to creating the life you want, the world you want to see, and giving yourself to that process. I'll go into more detail on these themes and others. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome to the October Energy Update, and if you're watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You will get the Energy Update first if you do that, and also the 3 or 4 videos that I release here on the channel every week, including my Impact the World podcast, where every Monday I interview a change maker, a creator, someone doing their work in the world in the hope that it can inspire you to do yours, whatever that may be, whatever that may look like. So we're moving into October, and for those of you who have been with me for a while, you will have heard me speak over the last few months about the very clear energy shift in this last few months of the year. The way I could explain it, I guess, would be if the first 6 months of this year were very introverted, you're going to see a lot more extroversion, a lot more taking place in the outer world. And this specifically relates to you personally, because that was the biggest theme that I was given as a headline for this month: the emergence of our personal transformation. So this is going to be a really good month for you to get behind or move some energy towards anything that you've been wanting to create in your life that's different. And that can be everything from changing our routines in our life, perhaps seemingly small routines, but as we know, when we change any habits in our life or any routines, it has a knock-on effect on what will play out in the outer world. But equally, if you're working on a big move or a big plan or something that has definitely caused you trepidation, or you've needed to take your time to get ready for this to happen in your life, October is going to be a month where many of us will see things really start to get moving. And with support and with a grace energy rather than a propulsion or a shock or a horror. Now, the only thing I will say about that is one theme that has come up for this month is changing relationships and our ability to move with the changes in our relationships. And if you think about it, this makes total sense, because if we start to change and grow and shift, as we all will all through our life, but if we're going through a very accelerated period of that, it stands to reason that some of the relationships in our life are also going to change. Notice if that makes you nervous. You know, perhaps you've got a few people in your life right now and you're thinking, oh yeah, I think there might be some changes. Notice if it makes you nervous. And the one thing I will point out is sometimes we have relationship changes that can be painful or difficult or hurt, but there is an incredible grace right now, and there is an ease and a flow that is happening in the changing nature of our relationships. That if you tap into it, it means that you can very compassionately and perhaps very easily just slightly adjust some of your relationship dynamics. Or even if you do choose to let go of someone that you see regularly for a while, or they do that to you, there can be a quicker ease around trusting this process. You know, we often get attached to the people in our life, or we really associate those people with our ability to connect. And actually, our ability to connect is in us. And everybody that we've loved and everyone that we will ever love will teach us how to continue to love other people. And love is an energy that exists on the planet. Another word for it could be connection. So as we're connecting to ourselves in different ways, and this has been very much accelerated by the last 18 months or so, as we are connecting to ourselves in different ways, so too some of our outer relationship dynamics are going to change. And I just want to remind you to look for the positive in that and be open to the positive in that. Many of you who perhaps learned to keep your mouth shut about certain things, either because your ideas weren't welcome or the way you said them perhaps used to be a little more triggering or polarizing, you'll have reached a place where you can speak your truth with compassion. And it's amazing how when you do that, often the other person, unless they are triggered or it activates something in them, which you can never control if that happens, it's incredible the level of shift and transformation that people will feel. And I have to bring that up because one of the other themes for this month is how are you doing amid the war of beliefs? So last month I spoke very in depth about the war of words that's going around right now on the planet. There's a war of words, and you don't have to look too far into the narratives that we're seeing out there to find that war of words. And what that stems from is a war of beliefs. Now, the irony about this is we will all change beliefs. You know, the beliefs that we had when we were 7 are probably different to the beliefs we had when we were 25 and the beliefs we had when we were 50 and the beliefs we have when we're 75. Beliefs are supposed to change and grow with us. So it's very interesting when people want to go to war with each other under the pretense of beliefs. Because it's always a pretense. You know, you decide you want to push someone away or reject somebody or blame a whole group in society because of a belief that you have that differs from theirs. Wouldn't it be a great world if we were able to have enough compassion and enough curiosity to be open to each other and to have that? And sure, we're definitely seeing a lack of maturity in our world right now around those themes. So the reason I'm asking how you're doing with it is it can be very triggering. It can trigger fear for us when we see this. It can make us sad. It can make us scared, all of those feelings. But there comes a point when we move through those, and we have to move through those, and then we come back to the place of, well, where do I want to be? What is the world I want to live in? What are the kinds of relationships I want to cultivate and give my energy to? So it is a difficult time right now because many people want to fight and go to war with each other, and that's being highly encouraged. Like you don't have to look very far to really see how it insidiously woven into some of the stuff flying around the world right now. We're all being encouraged into that. And what we can do is go beyond that and create something different. Doesn't mean we'll agree with everyone. It might mean that for a while, we and a certain friend aren't going to hang out as much. But the point here is it's okay. And I just did a big channel. It was 70 minutes long and it was called Boundaries and Connection. And it's actually the monthly MP3. I do one every month for my portal community. We also put them in the store. So if you're not a member of the portal, but you just want to get the recording, you can get that. But a few of the headlines that came up, I wanted to share with you today because it was very interesting. They were talking about the first half of this century. And they said, you're almost a quarter of the way through the first 50 years of the 21st century. And you're already going through a huge shift in your perception of connection as human beings. And they said it's supposed to change. So many of us get upset about the division energy we see. It's not what we want to see. And what they were saying was from another perspective and through our reality, it's part of the shift that we're going through. It's part of entering a phase of multidimensionality where one group's going to go over here and be in this way of being, and another group might go over there. And they said, don't fight that. If you fight that or if you resist that, it's going to be very difficult for you to really come into your own power. So it's interesting because, you know, as I say that, I understand some of you are there fighting for certain freedoms or certain liberties, and that's really important. This is something separate. This is more about the way that you see the all-encompassing whole. And they were saying that boundaries and connection go hand in hand. So if we can learn what our boundaries are and effectively and compassionately communicate and demonstrate those to other people, we get to a place where we no longer have relationships in our lives where those boundaries get breached or tested. Or if they do, it doesn't trigger or upset us in quite the same way. So they were talking about the importance of certain boundaries or letting go in certain relationships so that you can move on to the next group of friends or business partners, and that's just the way of things. So they were encouraging us not to get too stuck in the grief or the inability to let go, because we're always letting go in order to bring something else in. So just bear that in mind when I talk about changing relationships in this update, because that's something that is going round, and what you will be letting go of in the wound of having to let go of that relationship will be some of your own wounds. And that's true for all of us. It's how we evolve, shift, change as we go. But we often forget to think, well, when I'm over this in 6 months, I wonder what friend will come in and replace that friend. Or the way I like to see it is be the continuum. I don't know about you, but one of the things I've noticed as I've got older, there are certain people I really loved in my life that I'm no longer in the same country as, or, our lives went in different directions. And it's really beautiful to notice how elements of those people show up in new forms. So I have a few friends in my life right now, and they remind me, parts of them remind me of friends I had 10 or 20 years ago, but they have some new parts, because I guess so do I. So it's important to understand that changing relationships is actually a healthy thing and not a thing that we should be afraid of. So I share that for any of you who are a little contracted or recoiled about it. You might be letting go of something or someone or a certain way of being right now, and it feels tender, but 6, 12 months from now, you will have gone through that process and you'll be ready to let someone else or something new in. So everything I've just described about relationships can really be applied to us and our growth journey. It's not easy to emerge from the chrysalis, and October is a month of emerging from the chrysalis. There are many of you who've already been doing it this year. You probably could give me stories of all the things in the last 6 months that you've been noticing. But there are a huge wave of people who are about to emerge from the chrysalis. And I know, depending on where you live in the world right now, and God, who knows, by the time this comes out and you're watching it, there are various phases of lockdown going on around the world. But they've been adamant all along the way that what that's actually, the benefit of that internally, because of course there are many things that we don't like about that, or that we could have problems with about that. But what they have said all along is, rather than diminishing people's power, which was the fear, or some people were fearful that was the aim, that the opposite will happen. And so this month is the month that whatever you've been going through for the last 18 months and you're feeling like you're at the end of it and you can't take it anymore, breakthroughs will happen this month if you stay open to them, if you can stay in your heart, and if you can allow grace to support you. And, being human is messy and confusing sometimes. We're a human and a soul, and acknowledging that it's messy and confusing is a very powerful place to be, especially if you're a sensitive. Because if you're someone who has lived your life as a deep sensitive or deeply empathic to everything going on in the world, and perhaps you're only just figuring that out right now, it's actually really helpful to be able to live in the paradox of this life, which is, it's challenging and difficult and crazy sometimes, and then other times it can be this incredible epiphany of experiences and connection. But we have to be mindful of the challenging and be aware of it, and have some strategies inside ourselves that can help us when the challenges come along. But equally, we have to stay open to the positive and to the high energies on the planet. And there has been a very seductive narrative around us detaching, disconnecting from that in the last 18 months. And it's really important, and it's fine. Like, whoever wants to disconnect from that, they can go there. But for you, if you're wavering, this is going to be a month where you can plug back into possibility, your own sense of positivity and creativity. So what you want to create from this place, the higher realm. Okay, I'm just checking my notes here. Remember that an internal shift leads to outer change and vice versa. So many of you have been going through huge internal shifts. The outer is about to start happening in the coming months, and it will get kickstarted in October. Personal boundaries come from awareness. This was another piece from the channel that I wanted to just instill. They were saying that our current adopted idea of boundaries as a humanity is a boundary is something you set or enforce or sometimes wallop someone over the head with when they've done something you're not happy about. I remember doing that a few times, but hey, we all live and learn and grow, right? And hey, when you're in your wounds sometimes, and that's as much as you know, that can sometimes be the first way you set a boundary. But what they were saying was personal boundaries are something that you develop if you continually develop awareness. Awareness of how you're doing and how you're experiencing the world in every moment or every hour or every day. And doing little check-ins so that you can keep checking that you're not headlessly doing things in the world and becoming unconscious, or you're around a load of people who were very agitated and you don't know why you're agitated for 4 hours when you've left them. But if you start doing awareness checks and kind of keeping an idea on, okay, how am I doing? And how are my interactions going? And how is it for other people? What's going on here? There's going to be a real opportunity for more people to become more self-aware around these areas of emotional awareness, emotional intelligence, and also our interactivity with others. We're coming out of a very tender period of time and we're slowly beginning to crawl back out toward each other. And so initially there can be a shyness or a tenderness about that, but the desire to connect is going to be strong, and it's going to be a hunger that many people have. So really noticing how things are going in your relationships. And for many of you, this will look like being a lot bolder in what you're willing to say. Being brave enough to say the thing that scares you in case they don't like what you say or in case it comes across the wrong way. Well, if you say something and you notice it comes across the wrong way, you can say, I'm not sure I expressed that. That wasn't my intention to upset you. You know, you can kind of clumsily pick your way through the conversation, but don't not have the conversation. This is a time to, with people who you are close to, invested with, and feeling like you want to connect with, whether it's someone you meet in the street for a moment or whether it's someone that's very important to you in your life. We're going through upgrades in all of our relationships, including the one with ourselves. So personal boundaries is basically just keeping a check, not hyper vigilant, not obsessed about it, but just keeping a check on how you're doing and how your interactions are going. And it's a really good way for you to start to actively change some of your patterns. And it's its own way of having boundaries. If you're around a group of people, like I said, and they're very agitated and you come away and you didn't realize how much you were just absorbing how they were feeling. You didn't really have much of a boundary. You came away feeling all agitated. So that's interesting information. Oh, that's interesting. Why did I just completely open myself to that agitation? Where does that come from? I'll do a little bit of investigating on that side of me that thinks it's okay to fully just open my coat and go into everybody else's emotion, which is very much the way of many sensitives and empaths until we figure out, I don't need to do that. And sometimes we have to look at why we started doing it. At what point in our life did we deem that as safer than not? Sometimes it protected us from otherwise traumatic or difficult experiences in our childhood. But now you're older and a little more learned, it's a time where you can start to change the way you interact with others, change the way you show up. Our boundaries don't always come from our words or the rules that we give other people. They actually start first and foremost with how we keep an eye on ourselves as we go through the day. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, wow, I'm kind of, my nervous system's all revved up. And we start to notice, oh yeah, every time I go to that part of town, I get revved up. So I'm going to place a boundary on myself. Next time I headlessly think it's time to go to that part of town because I've got an errand to do and I feel a bit resistant, but I push through it, maybe I won't push through it. Maybe I'll find the other place I can go to that isn't quite as frenetic. These are the boundaries of awareness that we are in every single day and practicing. Okay, the last 3 points I wanted to make, they all refer to energetic polarities being at work right now at high levels of consciousness. So, I don't know about you, I've definitely been having conversations and awareness about the polarity that's playing out on, on the 3D plane here. I think all of us are very aware of that polarity and that kind of that's been going on for many years, but has definitely got a little worse. It's peaked in a different way this year. It keeps changing identity, but it's not going away. Well, one thing that they were very clear to give me yesterday was that there are incredible polarities at work energetically as well. It's not just that this is how we as humans are translating what's going on in the story of humanity right now. It's actually that the energies are incredibly polarized. This is partly why things are so fast. It's partly why there is an acceleration energy. But this is something to kind of bear in mind. It can lead to, there are 3 areas I was given to share with you: sudden shifts and epiphanies in your personal life. And again, this is going to get stronger in October. So sudden shifts and epiphanies in your personal life. Again, I want to remind you that these can be very good things. We tend to go, oh, what's that going to be? But it doesn't have to be that way. It might be, but these can be very good things. So a sudden shift in a situation that a week ago you didn't know how you were going to figure it out, but suddenly there is this movement of energy. Equally, epiphanies that lead to you making different choices. You suddenly get clear about something. So that's one of the byproducts of these polarized high energies right now. And that does link into the changing relationships too, if you think about it. There are sudden shifts in relationships or epiphanies. Equally, and I like this one, I know I've been experiencing this the last couple of years, and I'm sure many of you have too. Pain healing is revealing gifts faster than before. So for example, this can be characterized by an inconvenient or painful clarity that is kind of shocking to you, and it can be really about awareness. It doesn't always have to be an external event or incident that triggers this for you. Sometimes it's like you realize, oh my God, I've been keeping myself in this place for 4 months and I really didn't need to. Why was I doing that to myself? And in the moment you realize it doesn't feel good. It's painful, or it kind of brings something up for you, but it very quickly shifts, and the gift gets revealed. So whereas years ago, for many of us, we might have had to swim through that for months and months to kind of get to the gold. Now you can get to the gold or the gift within days, but you do have to be willing to go there. And most of us have been trained to either avoid our pain or anything that's uncomfortable. If you can be willing to let some of your discomfort rise enough that you investigate it, consider it, feel it, let it move through your body, it's incredible how these polarized high energies right now will move them through you, and as a result, reveal the gift. So for example, you might go through perhaps an intimate relationship is what you've been wanting for a long time, and it's been painful for you to suddenly realize this in the last month. And perhaps you've been denying it to yourself or I'm okay. And suddenly it feels really painful in your body because what comes up is abandonment and the feeling of you being abandoned, or the feeling of you not having a certain intimacy. And for you, perhaps right now, that is going to look like an intimate relationship. Now, for someone else, that might look like new friends. But for you, that looks like an intimate relationship. So you go through all this abandonment and it feels for days. And then weirdly, a week later, in walks somebody who is either a contender or the step to the next relationship, the warm-up. I often think before we meet a very significant relationship in our life, whether that's for love or business or whatever it is, any kind of significant person, we sometimes have a rehearsal right before. Someone who isn't quite the right mix for you, but it lets you shake off some of your own stuff so that you can just clear out anything you need to clear before you have a more all-encompassing connection with the next person. So pain healing, revealing gifts faster than before. And lastly, the creativity and innovation energy continues to be high. So I'm going to leave you today with this thought. What do you want to create and release this month? This is something I just led a small group through this past week. What do you want to create and release this month? It's a really good question to keep our soul alive in our life. And it's interesting how emotional it can sometimes make us. And sometimes we feel emotion about why we think we can't have that thing we want to create. And other times we feel an epiphany because we're allowing our soul to come back in. So if you want to journal for your soul to be included in your life, ask yourself regularly, what do I want to create this month? What do I want to release this month? And what you want to create might be directly helping someone else or a certain group on the planet. What you want to release might be something very physical and literal in your life, or it might be, I want to release my anxiety. I want to release being plagued by my anxiety. And it's amazing how when we put these things out there, then the lessons, teachers, people come along that we might need. But we have to be able to have the awareness that we are looking to create something. We're looking to release something. And often when we stop and do this for just 5-10 minutes, it has a profound effect. So I invite you at the end of this to write down a few things that you would like to create and a few things that you would like to release, because October is going to be an incredible time for manifestation and forward movement toward what you're trying to create. So get conscious with that and get involved rather than letting everything happen unto you. It's going to be very important, especially if you are sensitive and you are somebody who wants to see the heart in this world grow rather than diminish. So if you've been spending time grieving what you're seeing, it's important that you get back into creating the very thing that you would like to see more of in the world, in whatever way that looks for you. And that can be very personal, and it can be something that we create in the outside world. They're both the same, which is really where we started. Internal shifts leads to outer change and vice versa. Okay, thank you so much everyone for tuning in, and I hope you have a good month. At the end of this month, starting on October 27th, I'm going to be beginning a brand new weekly experience. It will run for 4 weeks, and I will be channeling my guides, the Z's, for about an hour or a little over an hour every week in 75-minute broadcasts. It's called Initiation, and I will play you a short trailer for it in just a moment so that you can get a feel for it. And if it's for you, we'd love to have you join us for Initiation. Secondly, we are releasing Transmissions Volume 2, our music and spoken word album. And that's coming out on October 15th, but you can check it out where you'll be able to stream it, download it, or even get a CD of it. And that is found at transmissionsalbum.com. And we'll put the link underneath this video, as we always do. But thank you to everyone who enjoyed Transmissions 1, which came out in June. This is the sequel to that album, and that will be out October 15th. The Boundaries and Connections MP3 that I mentioned, which is a 70-minute channeled journey around boundaries and connections, is either available in our store, or if you are a member of our portal community, you get it included in your membership. Alongside many other things, in the portal I do a 90-minute deep dive teaching every month, including channeling. Stephen does a Qigong sequence specifically around the themes of this energy update for our members. There are so many different things, so I won't list them all, but you can check them all out at theportal.world. It's really a sanctuary and a support place for sensitives, way showers, light workers. So we will play you now the trailer for Initiation. You can learn all details about that at initiation2021.com. Thank you for tuning in. Take good care of yourselves and lots of love, everybody. Hello, I'm Lee. I'm an intuitive and a channeler, and I've been channeling now for 23 years. And the information and the energy that my guides have underscored my life with throughout those years has been very transformative for me. And for those of you who've followed my work over the past 17 years or so, I know for many of you too. As I was visioning and doing a lot of deep diving this summer, really talking to my guides a lot through the month of August, they gave me the name Initiation as the name for a series of messages that they want to bring. Initiation will begin on October the 27th, and every Wednesday, live from this studio, I'll be channeling for approximately an hour to 75 minutes. I have asked my dear friend and sound healing collaborator Devor Bozique to create some original music encoded with planetary frequencies, but also frequencies that relate to our body that can run underneath each of the channels. And my guides, the Z's, have given us a written message about what initiation will be and what will take place during it. You can find that and all information about this experience on the course page, which is initiation2021.com. In between each of the live broadcasts, I will do a special calibration video that helps us at a human level calibrate to and integrate and absorb what each channeled message will be. This is different to anything I've ever done before. I can't wait to bring it to you, and neither can my team. If you feel to be with us for initiation, or you want to just get a sense of it, please visit initiation2021.com or use the link below this video to learn more and to feel more and to see if it resonates with you. If so, we'd love to have you with us.